check, did we? Hello, hi. My name's Meg, and I'm going to endeavour to chair this for a couple of hours. My role, I guess, if you want to know why I'm here chairing this, is I'm actually the co-chair of the Association of British Theatre Technicians. And if you don't know what the association, we call it the ABTT. It's a membership association for backstage staff. So anyone really, lighting and sound, hence I'm having a moment with the sound check, and the lighting is beautiful, of course. We deal in technical excellence. We are hugely supportive of keeping venues open. During COVID, our industry was hit quite badly, and a lot of the staff that work in theatres were kind of left aloof, really, with nowhere to go. And we are building back, but it's been a slow process. And I'm here today as the co-chair of the ABTT because it's really important to keep our venues open. My role is impartial, but obviously as a backstage lighting technician myself, I would love to see this beautiful venue stay open, but I will remain impartial and endeavour to keep you all on track for 2 hours. This meeting is being recorded for posterity and for people to be able to watch it back who couldn't make it. There will be some roving mics that come through, so it's quite useful actually if you sort of give us a character name so that we know who you are. It makes the recording much easier for people when they do that. So there'll be 2 roving mics that can come round and do that for you. I do just want to, do you know what, I'm filled with hope that so many people are here, and the bustle and the hustle in the foyer was beautiful, and I think that there's obviously a lot of support for this beautiful venue, and it does so much more than just live performance. I know that there's so much more community driven activities that happen here, and you know it's beautiful to see so many people here today supporting it. We're going to get impassioned today. We're going to have very colourful opinions. I'm here to remind you to be kind to one another today. Be respectful. We're going to be impassioned by what we're talking about, but we can do it with kindness. And I will remind you, as the chair today, if perhaps you are leaning towards a direction that isn't following that guideline. So let me introduce you to the people that the other characters that are here on the stage with me today. Oh, we do have a blank chair. Let me explain the blank chair. It's probably quite useful to explain the blank chair. So we did reach out to your local councillor, the head of your local council, Ian Edwards. And we did invite that person to come today, but we've not had any reply. So I think it would be... So I thought it would be quite good to say, is there anyone here from the council today that would like to speak on behalf of the council? And if there is, you'd be very welcome to come and take that seat. I believe John MacDonald is here, and it's so lovely to have you here. It's not really an MP kind of level, so we're going to let John just sit in the audience, but I'm sure he's going to join in with the...
Councillor Janet Gardner, she's here, a spokesperson, as well as Councillor Connell Cole, she's here as well. I wouldn't mind having Connell Cole here.
I'm not in the habit of bullying people to come up on stage, being a backstage girl myself, but if anyone is here from the council, you're very welcome. I'm very kind. John O's really kind, Steve's really kind, so honestly I'm going to run this today with kindness. So please, if you are here from the council and you would like to come... Of course, yeah. Have we got a microphone? Yeah.
Thank you. If I just explain, there are a number of councillors here, myself included. I'm the leader of the Labour group on the council, and we are in opposition.
Of course.
So that chair there needs to be somebody who's in control of the council.
Yep.
In other words, the people that we oppose.
Okay. How would you feel if I took that label off and we pop him down here as a we can do that. Watch this. Look. See this? this chap is not here, okay? So we're going to pop him here, which leaves an empty seat. So if anybody from the opposition council would like to come. Thank you so much. As a backstage girl, I do know that it's quite intimidating sitting in front of the lights, but we're really grateful for that. Before I what I'm going to do is introductions from everyone from the table. We've already got a bit political, haven't we? But just to let you know that in terms of the theatre staff and the people that work here, we just want this beautiful theatre. We just want an outcome for this. We just want this venue to continue. We want the backstage staff to still work, the front of house staff, and we want that beautiful movement of performance and culture for our young people. My 7-year-old is around here at the moment, probably being looked after by some of the backstage staff at the moment, and that's what we want to cultivate for this area today. So I do get that it's going to get political, but just remember at the heart of this is a beautiful venue that we just need to keep open in some way, shape or form. So it's because theatres are so much more than just what performs on the stage. You've got a beautiful youth theatre here and lots of other activities as well. So let me introduce you to the people. Actually, I'm going to let them introduce themselves. Would you like to start? I feel like I want to write your name on a sheet. So.
Okay, so I'm Councillor Peter Curling. I'm the leader of the opposition Labour group on Hillingdon Council, and here because we passionately believe that this theatre should remain. We believe that Trafalgar have done a brilliant job and should continue that.
I'm Jonathan Haynes. I'm a local resident and I've been a supporter of Beck since I was a child, being involved in a huge number of different productions over the years, as well as community projects, and I'm also a coordinator for the Back to Beck campaign.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name's Steve, and I'm the theatre director here at the Beck.
So that is me introducing you to your characters that are on the stage. I'm sure we've got lots of other characters that I'm looking forward to meeting throughout the question and answers. We're going to start with a statement from Steve, who is the theatre director. We're going to allow him the space to speak freely, but we will have questions and answers afterwards.
Thanks. There we go. So, hopefully that's on and you can hear me. When I was initially approached by the campaign to host a public meeting here, I refused. I didn't want this building to become a political battlefield, but we're here today because, quite frankly, there is no other venue. Now, there are a few things that it's important for me to say today. And I say them as somebody who has led this extraordinary organisation for nearly 7 years. Someone whose only loyalty is to this theatre. And someone who has seen first-hand the crucial value of arts and culture in this area. My only agenda is to protect this theatre for you. So firstly, I want to speak on why we're here today and why this fight, the fight to save the Beck, is so important. I also want to share with you some facts, devoid of spin, devoid of political point scoring, because I believe in transparency, and that's what you will get from me today. Many people think that arts and culture is a nice to have. And at a time when so much across our society is broken and ordinary people are struggling across so many challenges, that our focus should be elsewhere. but I disagree. The arts are essential to any complete national life. Those aren't my words. Those are the words of Winston Churchill, who also, it is reported, refused to cut funding for the arts during the war effort, responding, "Then what would we be fighting for?" During times of strife, the arts become even more important, providing sanctuary and relief from the challenges that surround us. Put simply, in theatres like this one, we are not selling tickets. We're selling quality of life. Our theatres also bring people together in a way that we must protect. Just a few weeks ago, the deep divisions in our society were exposed, leading to terrifying scenes across the country as riots took hold in our communities. There were lots of things that contributed to those horrifying scenes, but I can't help but observe that the deepening of these divisions in recent years coincides with the removal of our cultural and community spaces. Every time we lose an arts centre, a community hub, a youth club, a library, or any other civic space, we lose the opportunity to learn about each other. We lose the opportunity to make meaningful connections to the world around us, and we lose a little bit of what it means to be part of a community. We now have so few spaces designed to bring people together, and that must change if we're going to repair our society and move forward. There are other benefits too. Leading evidence from academia and the Ministry of Justice indicates that the arts support the process of desistance from crime by fostering empathy, building family connections, and playing a role in restorative justice. But simply, arts and culture reduces crime. It also makes us healthier. The World Health Organization says this: artistic expression grew in lockstep with human cultural development and has long played an integral part in how we teach, learn, communicate, and heal. Since our earliest ancestors began telling stories to make sense of the world, we have evolved to learn from narrative. In recent decades, we've come to understand the intrinsic health benefits to artistic and leisure activities. Art can help us to emotionally navigate the journey of battling an illness or injury, to process difficult emotions in times of emergency and challenging events. The creation and enjoyment of the arts helps promote holistic wellness and can be a motivating factor in recovery. Arts and culture also puts money in our bank accounts. As it currently stands, the creative industries contributes £126 billion to the UK economy. And here in Hayes, the Beck has a local economic impact of £3 million per year. That's not money spent here. That's money spent in this local area by our visitors and employees. That's money straight into the pockets of local residents. So the argument's clear. Arts and culture improves our lives. It makes us safer, healthier, richer. Much has been made about the subsidy that this theatre has historically received, and I've been told multiple times recently that we just can't afford to. But what that means is we can't afford for our communities to be safer. We can't afford for our residents to be healthier. And we can't afford to support local business and local employees. You know what I say? We can't afford not to. It's with this determination that my team and I have approached running this theatre and delivering life-changing projects for people right across West London, despite the acute challenges that we have faced along the way. Here are some recent facts from across the arts sector. The The UK has one of the lowest levels of government spending on culture among European nations, and was one of a small minority of countries to reduce total culture spending per person between 2010 and 2022. Between 2009-10 and 2022-23, local government revenue funding of culture and related services decreased by 48% in England. And between 2018 and 2023, there was a 23% drop in the number of music, theatre, dance and comedy events in the UK. Despite these challenges, the Beck has gone from strength to strength, leaning in to its community-first model and doubling down on providing a world-class programme that's accessible to everyone, and ensuring that every person in this area has the opportunity to experience the transformational power of the arts. I think it's fair to say that we've seen the ugly side of ego in the war of words that has played out over the last 10 days or so. So there's something else I want to share as we continue further into this meeting today. And it comes from down the road in Battersea, where in the mid-1800s their town motto was this: not for me, not for you, but for us. This building and the meeting today is about everybody. It is about the things that bring us together, the things that raise us up in times of challenge, and the things that we celebrate in times of triumph. It is not for me. It is not for you. It is for us. Thank you. Now, there'll be an opportunity to ask me any questions you like, but before we get to that point, I want to share a timeline of the events that have brought us to this point. So in 2021, we engaged with the London Borough of Hillingdon, LBH, about our lease, which was due to end in June 2022. At that point, LBH explained that they needed to do some work on a long-term cultural strategy. And with that in mind, we agreed to a short 2-year extension taking us to June of this year to enable LBH to complete that work. That work never happened. Back in November last year, we worked with council officers to create a paper to be put in front of Cabinet. In the creation of this paper, Trafalgar Theatres made it crystal clear that they wanted to be here for the long term. We discussed 30-year leases and even offered to purchase this site from the council. The paper was clear. Officers recommended that LBH extend the lease of this theatre as there simply wasn't a viable alternative. The paper was due to go before Cabinet in February, but then was postponed to March. Then it was postponed to April. Then it was pulled altogether. On the 2nd of May this year, the corporate director of the place visited me here to tell me in person that LBH were backing out of lease negotiations and wouldn't be in a position to fund a theatre anymore. That was just 6 weeks before our lease was due to end. We worked around the clock to rescue that position. LBH agreed to let us stay until the end of the year so we could continue to work to find a solution that protected this theatre. Throughout May, June and July, we sent repeated emails calling out the programme risk and highlighting the fact that we were unable to book shows from January onwards. These emails received no response. In July, we sent a letter to the Council Chief Exec, Councillor Lavery, and other LBH officers in which we called out the critical risk of delay. We also set out that we would make the theatre work on a zero subsidy, if the council agreed to a 3-year trial. We explained clearly that we needed an agreement fast, and we set a deadline of the 13th of September for a deal to be done. LBH agreed to meet with us, and we got around the table on the 15th of August. Present at that meeting was LBH's Corporate Director of Property, Corporate Director of Finance, Corporate Director of Place, and Councillor Lavery. They were joined by Trafalgar Theatre's Chief Exec, Commercial Director, Regional Director, and me. Having made it incredibly clear to the council just how committed we were to protecting this theatre, I expected that meeting to go well. Instead, I felt hostility emanating from LBH's representatives. Following that incredibly challenging meeting, we sent across our financial accounts and a report on the condition of the building as requested, and we chased the council for an update in late August, but received no response. On the 11th of September, we wrote to LBH pointing out that the deadline was fast approaching and inquiring if they needed anything else from us. We received no response. We also received no further communication from them before the deadline of the 13th of September, which came and went. On the 14th of September, Trafalgar Theatres wrote to LBH to confirm their intention, as stated in the July letter, that they were now forced to begin exit preparations. On the 16th of September, LBH wrote to offer Trafalgar a 9-month extension and provided them with terms that opened us up to uncapped building repairs risk. This was so far from being workable that we politely declined. Since then, colleagues and I have sought repeatedly meaningful clarity from LBH on the future so that we may share that news with our 100 or so staff and volunteers. We have received none. Now, before we move on to questions, I want to share an extract of the letter sent by Trafalgar Theatre's Chief Exec to the London Borough of Hillingdon after they failed to meet the 13th of September deadline. On balance, I think it would be very difficult for any third-party operator to countenance operating the Beck without support from the local authority, financial or otherwise. Trafalgar's scale, experience and financial backing allowed us to continue doing so. To consider doing so. We still believe that the proposal we put forward is the most viable, likely outcome for the council, and in our view, would have proved substantially less expensive than you managing the theatre directly, selecting another operator, or mothballing operations. What we put forward was cheaper than closing the building. So, I'm now happy to take questions. Please understand that there will be some confidential information I'm unable to share if it relates to the employment of Beck staff, but aside from that, you can ask me anything. But I am going to sit down.
Do I have to do it now? That's all right. I'm Lydia Holland. I'm chair of Hillingdon Arts Association. I'm also chair of Hillingdon Philharmonic Orchestra. And it's with respect to the orchestra that it's not a question. It's very straightforward thanks. Last year we had arranged to do a concert here. We were using the grand piano. It was a wonderful concert of Russian music in March. And then we all know what happened. The Ukraine was invaded. There were a lot of stupid things said at the time, like, oh, we can't play Russian music. Of course we can. Tchaikovsky didn't know anything about what was going to happen to Ukraine. And our concert did go ahead, though we gave it a different title. The reason why I'm saying thank you to Steve is because he had given us the most amazing and generous contract so that we lost nothing from the fact that we didn't have much of an audience. But you, the Beck and Trafalgar, obviously lost a lot. So it's just thank you so much.
Thank you, Norman. Hi, Steve. Brilliant speech. So what's the situation with Trafalgar as it stands at the moment? So from the media, it's saying that up until yesterday, I think talks have broken down again and they've walked away. So if they're saying that there's no tangible operator that can come in, and you were saying earlier about how potentially the staff, or you're looking into ways it can be run, what can we do as a community and people here to help you make that dream happen?
Yeah, what's your name?
Sorry, Kevin Dennis.
Thanks, Kevin. It's a really good question. The statement that Trafalgar put out last week indicated that they were not able to continue to operate this building from January. The proposal that we put forward back in kind of June, July, now isn't viable because we've lost so much time. When we program the theatre, we can program up to 2 years in advance. And the minimum length of time we need really to sell a show and to present it is about 6 or 7 months. We are well past that now, which means that there is not a programme from January onwards. And now it will be incredibly difficult to deliver one at this timescale. So that's why the proposal that we previously put forward is no longer viable, because we would just hemorrhage money for the first 3 months of next year. Is there a way back for Trafalgar? I don't know. My gut feeling is it would be incredibly difficult. Are there opportunities for other operators to come in? Potentially, yes. But given the challenges that we've spoken about today, any other operator would have to be really very well funded and would have to work in collaboration with the London Borough of Hillingdon in order for there to be any kind of viable future option. It's not impossible, but it's, in my opinion, unlikely. I desperately want to be proved wrong. What can we do? Well, I've thought a lot about this, and the honest answer is I'm not sure. If there was to be, for instance, a number of community groups who got together, there is potential that this building could be run by and for the people it serves. But there is a question of funding. There is no funding, full stop. Which then means we're reliant on individual donors and individual fundraising, which is extremely perilous, particularly given the acute challenges that residents are facing locally and heading into winter with, high fuel bills, etc. So I wouldn't want really to pin my colours to that mast. I think it's really risky.
Could the community section be a conduit that then would get you through that period?
That's what I was going to ask. I was going to ask exactly that.
Oh, cool. You asked.
Sorry,
Is the microphone floating around?
Nigel is
No, you've asked my question.
I've asked it. So basically, could that be a conduit towards
So,
getting you towards commercial activity,
absolutely.
which is ultimately what theatres need in order to...
So we have discussed the possibility of there being a community season whereby January, February, March next year is given over to all our community groups. We increase our creative learning community outreach programme during that time. We fundraise for it, and we operate in a slightly different way through that period where it's increasingly challenging to get any commercial product. Yes, it is possible.
Okay,
but it
so
needs
I am going to ask something else then as well. My name's Giovanni Spano. I did summer youth project back in 1995, and I performed here professionally and amateurly, and it's kind of an institution for me. I kind of learned life here. I learned how to perform here. I see loads of faces that I know, etc. This is like a church for me. Like, I love this place, like, unconditionally. It's quite an incredible place to be. So what I was going to ask was, like, is there a possibility that, let's say from now, the conduit is the community, and then let's say somebody wants to come in and collaborate with the community, and the patrons could then still put a little bit of money in, and then let's say a Trafalgar or somebody at the same time can go and do like a partnership type thing, so they can continue.
Yeah, I can absolutely see a world in where that's possible.
Right. And they would be okay, and like people would be okay with that, or we could have meetings, etc.
Yeah.
To try and make that okay.
Absolutely. I think there are, stakeholders in this room who would love to continue that conversation with you, I'm sure. How responsive Hillingdon Council would be to that proposal.
Shall we, let's park that line of inquiry.
Yeah.
I'm aware, I promise that you've got the microphone, I promise. But I feel like there's like a desire for that, but I feel like maybe I'm going to look over here, but you can't say, because I'm assuming that the chap that's not here is the person that might be the person that, awkward. But I'm assuming you're nodded because...
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is exactly what we would support. I mean, first of all, I'm sitting here as a local politician. I must say this is not a political campaign, it's a community campaign, and we're here to support the community. That's why there are several councillors here in this audience today, because we're here passionately to support the community in their fight to save the Beck. So that's where we are. Obviously there is a political element because it's the council decision, and it's a political decision by those that run the council to take this action. We had a full council meeting on Thursday at which the Labour group tried to move an emergency motion on the Beck Theatre, which was, well, I mean, you'd have thought we were suggesting the start of World War III, the way that the controlling group objected to it. But we are here in our political role in the Civic Centre. We will fight as hard as we can to get some sort of sense.
I wonder if there's a conversation that could happen here, and then maybe, I don't know how often you're meeting, there could be another emergency meeting where this proposal could perhaps be brought. It doesn't sound like it's going particularly well, but it helps to keep going on, doesn't it?
Yeah, whatever we can do in the political sphere, we will do.
Yeah, okay, cool. So. I'm so sorry, I'm going to go. This lady's been waiting for so long, but we'll get the microphone to you.
Hi, I'm Marjorie, a retired nurse and midwife, and as John knows, an activist on international and domestic issues. Steve, I am consciously aware that we have some amazing famous celebrities that respect the Beck as part of their tour circuit. So what are the celebrities saying about this? And as I bring in the point about celebrities, I'm going to highlight Ruby Wax. And she was a perfect example of what you were trying to tell us about, of creating empathy. Because she had the most amazing production of taking us on a journey of her mental ill health and her navigation through to wellness. And it was an amazing, powerful evening, was that. So that gave a good example of how arts can help us understand things, understand clinical things. In this worry that I've got is that I also noticed that we're quite a hub for training the youth in arts performance and production. And we have actually had some local people that have performed in the West End because of that foundation that was given in Beck Theatre. So what are we going to do about that? I'm also conscious about this debate in Hillingdon Council, and as John and I know, when we're in Parliament, the best meetings are when we have all-party meetings. And so sometimes it is to remember in the political arena that we are an us, like you say, a community where we do need to come together. Isn't that part of being democratic? And I'm going to dare to bring in the B word. You mentioned all the funding in the EU. Well, how much funding have we lost because of Brexit?
Thank you so much for your questions. I was so engaged with what you were saying, I'd probably forgotten half of them, so my apologies. But in terms of the kind of celebrity angle, it is something that will gain more traction next week. We are, for instance, linked up now with the Campaign for the Arts, which is a national campaign of which Sam West is heavily involved, and he has very kindly offered to open his address book. So watch this space. It's fair to say that the people who have tread the boards here over the last 50 years are just as appalled as many of us in this room. I won't talk too much about the campaign because I know Jono's got a lot to say.
I think we've got someone with a microphone here, and I just wanted to. You had a question as well, didn't you? Do you still have that? I'm so sorry. It's just this gentleman was going to be next, but what I'll do is I will come over to you, and if it's okay with everybody, I'm going to leave these two questions, and then I think it's really good for you to hear more about the Beck campaign, and then we can carry on with it, because I feel like a lot of what Jonathan's going to talk about may provoke some more thoughts. So we'll do this question, this one over here, and then we'll pause.
It's more of a question for Councillor Peter, is the one that's attending.
The audience, but yes.
Yeah, it was just
been brave enough to sit up here.
Well, he is very brave turning up, whereas we've got an invisible person here who's meant to be the head of it.
Yeah.
But it was a general question. Now, I'm a local resident. I live on this here Berry Road, near Beck Theatre. How can a vote go by the local council to sell or not to keep Beck Theatre without us here residents knowing about it? How it does actually affect not only businesses on Uxbridge Road, it would affect the wider community, but other schools. I remember, like, as a kid, going to school, to the theatre, to see the Shakespeare stage shows as well as the children's shows as such. How can such a big decision be made without the residents knowing anything about it, locally or bigger as a whole, as Hillingdon?
Yeah, unfortunately, it's the way that the current controlling group run the council. I mean, I'm a councillor, I'm the leader of the opposition on the council. The first I heard of this was when a friend of mine sent me a text saying, I hear the Beck's closing, what do you know about it? Nothing. It was the answer, nothing. And then that was just prior to all of this sort of hitting the headlines and becoming public. So they keep things very, very secretive. There's huge financial problems in Hillingdon. There's a list of local assets worth £75 million that they want to sell off to raise that money to prop up the finances. We've asked for that list. We're yet to see that list. So I don't know what's on that list. I can tell you Barrow Hall has been sold. Uxbridge Library is in the process of being sold. They I guess, are two that are on that list. Is the Beck on that list? I don't know. We're trying to find out.
forward with things, that money will come in from those revenue streams.
I agree with you. Yeah, I agree.
I think it's probably worth parking that one, because I think Peter's made it very clear that he doesn't know the answer.
Just to make it clear, the councillors that are in this room do not run the council.
Yeah.
We oppose those that do. The council is run by 7 councillors. Absolutely. Absolutely.
My 83-year-old dad likes to write a letter, so I kind of feel like, you know, if you send enough of those, maybe asking this question, they would at least get annoyed about it. I like the snail mail approach of my dad.
It's also encouraging to see all the emails. The councillors that are here, myself included, have had a lot of emails from a lot of people through the Back the Beck campaign. I've attempted to answer all of them. I'm not sure whether my Conservative colleagues have done the same, but I suspect the 7 people that run the council, i.e. the cabinet, I suspect they haven't.
We're just going to take this last question, and then I do think it would be really cool for you to hear more about the Back the Beck campaign, and then we can resume questions.
My name's John Hensley, and I was the former mayor of Hillingdon. And in my mayoral year, I spent many times here, and what actually gave me so much pleasure is the diversity that this facility provided. From youth groups, Uxbridge College were here, and they gave their performance, bringing the community together, and in the interfaith group. And I spent many a happy moment here as a mayor, representing the borough and saying thank you for the facility that the Beck provided. Now, I'm not a political person anymore. I'm no longer a councillor. Thank God I'm not at the moment for what's going on. But what has surprised me is that in the audience today, we've got representatives from the Labour group and a representative from the Liberal group. But there's no one from the Conservative. I can only suspect here that there's been a moratorium put on them not to turn up. I also find it strange that you used the word Ed Lavery. Ed Lavery is not the leader of the council, Ian Edwards. And I believe that the sincerity of the individual, he should be here today. He should be involved with the negotiations. After all, he chairs the cabinet, and he controls what the cabinet do.
Yeah. So just to let you know that he was emailed a number of times. So he was invited with plenty of notice, and then I believe you sent another one as well, didn't you?
Yeah, so we've reached out to all the members of the council. We've been humbled by a number of responses that have been really supportive. Unfortunately, the decision makers that we want to have in this room to get these questions addressed are unfortunately not here.
The part I hear of Steve, and I do sympathise with you, you do need a lead time in which to get your programme together. And by taking you right to the wire, it's really put the Beck in that precarious position that it could almost fail through its willingness to survive. And what I am appalled here is your timeline with the no response, no response. Now, forgive me of my age, but I seem to remember that someone said we put residents first in all our decisions. I find I'm slightly embarrassed now because I was a Conservative councillor. Thank God I'm not, because those words are going to come back to haunt them. I also remember that Ray Puddifoot, in his vision for the borough, that he wanted, and it was gifted, on the former RAF site at Uxbridge, a complete building which was the gym, and he wanted to convert that into a state-of-the-art provision for theatre productions that could go from the West End round the borough. I also find now that the money and the goodwill that's put forward has all been gone since the change in the council. I'm trying not to be political, but facts speak louder than words. I also believe that this borough is very diverse, and the way you're going to overcome crime and diversity problems is to bring people together. The Beck, and I saw that for myself, in my mayoral year, it brought groups together. And the moment you can bring groups together, you break down barriers and you break down problems. I do feel that the way forward at the moment is for some community groups to work in conjunction with the Beck management. But without the authority of the council, all the best will in the world, that won't go forward. Now, I won't mention a person's name because I don't want to embarrass Councillor Mills. But he said many, many times, we've got to build good flats in Hayes because I want to be able to see that they'll all vote Conservative. I wish he was here today because I believe that there's a hidden agenda. And this site, sadly, if you don't get the money or the goodwill to go ahead, this site can only be mothballed. And a mothballed site costs more to bring back than if you keep it running. And what will happen, and you often find developers do that, the building is now beyond repair. We've got a very good developer that can come along and he can build on this site, and we do need social housing. And with social housing, put more pressure on our housing, on our doctors, our surgeries. But at what price? The price is you've lost a facility and the benefit for us, the community. I'm sorry if I'm trying not to be political here, but I'm talking from the heart because I believe I always supported the community. I've never supported my party. I'm there as a representative of the people. Perhaps that's why they deselected me in the end. After being a councillor for 20 years.
Thank you so much. I don't like to interrupt a former mayor. My mum was a former mayor, but we're gonna move on. Thank you for your passionate words.
I'll just come back very quickly, if that's okay. Sorry, Johnny. So, just for, I guess, clarity, Councillor Lavery is the cabinet member under which culture sits. So it sits within his portfolio. That's why we've mentioned. That's why we've mentioned Councillor Lavery. In terms of the future of this site, there are kind of 3 levels of protection that this site has in terms of redevelopment. Theatre buildings themselves are protected under planning law. This is an area of metropolitan open land which has the same planning protections as Greenbelt, and we're in the Hayes Conservation Area. What that means is it will take a very, 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 very long time to do anything else with this site than have a theatre. And I think it's perhaps just worth mentioning that, given the conversations around redevelopment, house building, etc. But thank you for your reflections.
So we're going to hear from Jonathan now, who's going to give a statement and give you some more information about the Back the Beck campaign.
Thank you, Meg, and thank you everyone here today who's turned out to fight for this theatre survival and to support our campaign. Sitting here on this stage at the Beck conjures up many personal memories for me. I started coming here at the age of 5 to watch many numerous kids shows, as well as supporting my sister, who was at the time performing as part of an annual dance show and school showcase. Since then, I've worked on a huge number of shows as a lighting technician, brought in to support a wide-ranging number of shows, including the Beck Summer Project and Beck Youth Theatre productions, as well as staging an annual pantomime with the British Airways Cabin Crew Entertainment Society that has raised over £1 million to worthy causes and charities since it was funded. The Beck Theatre is more than just a theatre. Its creative learning offer has touched the lives of thousands of people and includes, amongst other initiatives, community choirs, workshops, dementia-friendly film screenings and youth projects, and supports a wealth of charities, including the Afghan Women's Supporters Group, Compass Collective, Carers Trust Hillingdon, and the Stronger Communities Team for Hillingdon Council. The Summer Youth Project has run since 1987, with the Beck Youth Theatre also existing for a similar time. Over the last 38 years, these groups have educated and trained thousands of young people, of which many hundreds have gone on to work successfully in the arts. But for those who don't make a career out of performing, they gain lifelong skills, which they can carry with them. The Youth Theatre and Summer Youth Project provide a safe space for our young people, where they can grow in confidence and develop themselves as people. Where so many local clubs and groups have closed or are no longer available, the Beck provides a sense of belonging and creates an environment to enrich the lives of the community it seeks to serve. All of this is at risk if we don't preserve this venue for the next 50 years. And so a group of local supporters of this venue, many of whom are here today, came together to try and raise awareness of the fact that this theatre was facing imminent closure. The Back the Beck campaign was launched a little over a week ago, and in that time, the public response has been overwhelming. We've launched a website, built an impressive social media campaign, and launched 2 petitions with over 9,000 signatures. We are grateful that a number of councillors and members of Parliament have already sent us messages of support. Indeed, Deputy Leader and Wood End Councillor Stuart Mathers tried to arrange an emergency motion at Thursday's council meeting on the closure of the Beck Theatre. Sadly, this was rejected before it had even been heard. There have been some statements made from LBH that this council do in fact want to save the Beck. However, all of their actions thus far seem to say the opposite. If Hillingdon Council really want to preserve this venue, one has to ask why they were unable to accept the offer that they had on the table from Trafalgar, which would have saved them £270,000 a year as a result of the zero subsidy deal. If LBH do not want Trafalgar to remain as the venue operator, then they must clarify how they intend to keep the venue open from 2025. Because with no arrangement in place, no shows can happen and no tickets can be sold. Changing operators is not as straightforward as just handing back the keys. There are a number of operational considerations, including the fact that a lot of these assets are owned by Trafalgar, and so they will go when they leave. These include critical equipment to run the shows, the lighting, the sound desks, the foyer, the foyer furniture, the office equipment, the software to sell the tickets. There is also currently nothing scheduled from January, despite a few odd bookings that have gone on sale prior to the breakdown in contract negotiations I've just described. Without a proactive backer who can allow this venue to thrive, it simply won't be able to sustain itself, and this will give the council the justification it needs to close it for good. We cannot afford for these challenges to serve as a justification for the closure of this theatre, or allow the theatre to be financially mismanaged so that it is the perfect excuse to close it in 18 months' time. We have seen this happen before with several other public services. The rural tea rooms that supported our autistic young adults, and the 3 public nurseries in Uxbridge, South Ruislip and Nestle, which were due to close and suffered haphazard decisions by the council. The tea rooms had its funding removed by LBH, and the council blamed the charity that had been running it for not stumping up the money. The nurseries had been running with very high outgoings, and they were told they were not financially viable. But the council could have foreseen this over the years, done its sums properly, and it could have changed to a cost-effective provider. LBH made no effort to make the nurseries viable, and then they said they had to close them for this very reason. An example of this was how implementing below-inflation rate increases and using agency staff throughout exacerbated their financial difficulties. So there is a theme here, where the council regularly mismanages its services and its public finances. They are then deemed, these buildings are deemed at risk of closure, and the property is sold for yet more flats. Public buildings in prime locations should remain for the enjoyment of the public. Uxbridge Library is another example of this. So too, on a central government level, are police stations such as West Drayton. The government cut police funding over 5 years by 20%. This police station and others closed and had to be sold. So to bring it back to the Beck, we have a number of questions for LBH that so far we've failed to get any answers to. We've made a big conscious effort to shout about these over the course of the campaign. Number 1, what are Hillingdon Council's plans for this venue from January 2025? Number 2, what certainty can LBH assure us that there is not a hidden agenda to drive this venue into the ground and make it deliberately fail or justify a permanent closure? Number 3, what assurances can LBH give that the Creative Learning Programme will continue supporting our community as it has done for so many years? And the 4th, and if possibly the most important, as mentioned earlier this afternoon, Hillingdon Council are in the process of asset stripping in order to meet a £75 billion target. Can they confirm that the Beck and the surrounding land will not be sold to developers? We are concerned that Councillor Ian Edwards is claiming that LBH had discussed with Trafalgar the option of a new, modern Beck Theatre on the site, with Trafalgar continuing at the helm. This is simply not the case. In fact, this was later retracted by Hillingdon Council, who clarified to the Local Democracy Reporting Service that this was a proposal in a one-off conversation in 2021 that never really developed further into costings, and no new theatre is currently on the table. The withdrawal of this comment was somewhat of a relief. However, the fact that it's been raised does cause some concerns, because we have seen so often that buildings are closed with an intention that they will be demolished and rebuilt. But once they're closed, the appetite wanes and they sit derelict for years before being sold to a private developer for flats. Or worse, the site gets demolished, gets turned into a housing estate or a new development, and a much smaller studio theatre is built to tick a box. However, anything smaller than the Beck would make it completely non-viable for the wide-ranging community services and dance shows, youth theatre productions and professional tours. As part of the campaign, as the campaign itself, we do not seek to create a rift or risk getting into a slanging match with the council. Our campaign has been positive, and all we seek is for LBH to be open and honest with their plans for the building, as so far we have received very little or no response to these concerns that I've addressed. As each day passes with no resolution, we get closer to a point where there won't be time to schedule new shows for the new year. No shows, no tickets sold, an empty theatre. This is what we're heading towards, and without these, no theatre will survive. If another operator were to accept the 9-month extension, which would be completely non-viable on their part, this would not solve anything overnight. Programming takes months of planning and relies on intrinsic strategic planning on both sides, from the touring production and also the venue. And most promoters have already booked their venues for early 2025. Time and space must also be offered to community productions, which also take months of planning from their part to make the stories and shows that they want to share. The people in our community deserve the opportunity to shine and grow through projects such as the Beck Youth Theatre, the Community Choir, International Women's Day, and the many dance and performing arts shows from schools and academies in the local area. So if LBH do want the Beck Theatre to remain, their current actions aren't allowing this to happen. Sadly, we have seen it all too often where an operator is stripped of their lease, the building is taken over by the council, and then it's run into the ground, or the finances are mismanaged to justify a permanent closure. We do not want to see this happen. The council might own this land, but this building belongs to us, the community. We are its current custodians, and we owe it to ourselves to preserve it. And this is why we're here today, to push for answers and a commitment that this theatre will be allowed to thrive for the next 50 years. Thank you.
We'll take questions back to the floor. Have we got a microphone? I think John's got one.
Thank you. John MacDonald, MP for Hayes and Harlington. When Steve and Jonathan were talking about convening a community meeting, I suggested they said, did I want to go on the platform? I suggested not, because I didn't want any accusations from the council that this was in any way a party political campaign or anyone was exploiting it that way. And I said, I'm happy to turn up in the audience like everyone else, but I'll express my views with regard to what's happened. My background on this is, I was here at the opening in 1977. I remember when it was opened. I remember at that very beginning it was a rare opportunity for new theatres to be built at that point in time in communities like this. So this was a huge breakthrough for a working class community like ours to have our own theatre. And from the very opening, the principle that was established that this would be a community theatre for a local performance, of course, but it would also bring in professional theatre, dance, drama, etc. And that mission has been fulfilled since 1977. In fact, it's gone beyond most of what we thought could happen. It's been incredibly successful, and from it, as has been said, in terms of generation after generation of our youngsters have performed here. Some of them have gone on to professional careers as well, which is wonderful, but others, even if they didn't, it just gave them confidence in life for whatever career they did. And so it's just been wonderful since that period, just been watching that. When I was the GLC councillor, we funded performances here as well. It was just phenomenal, it was buzzing. And what's happened since then, that buzz has been maintained. So this is one of the most valuable community assets that we've got within our area. That's the first point I want to make. The second point really is that people have mentioned it already. There is a pattern developing with this council at the moment whereby community assets themselves are run down, often funding withdrawn. Then the argument is put whether it's too expensive to maintain, and then they're sold. Other examples have been given. Now just look at Woodside, the disability centre along the Uxbridge Road that stood derelict now for nearly 4 years. And again, Barrow Hall, we opened it. We raised 2 million. $1 million from the government and $1 million from the Kensington Community Trust. We opened it as a Sure Start Centre. They shut the Sure Start Centre, and then they closed it down, then came back with the argument that it had deteriorated whilst it had been shut and therefore had to be sold. The saving grace on Barrow Hall is that Uxbridge College have come forward and they've bought it, but they were bidding against a private developer. It's a pattern of behaviour. And to be honest, I don't care which political party has controlled the council, whether it was Labour, Tory or whatever, it's unacceptable for any political control. When Steve contacted me, the council never informed me about the process that was going on. I was not aware of the threat until Steve contacted me just to take me through the briefing of the negotiations. I don't know of any community theatre in the country that is at the moment operating without some form of subsidy. And I'm not an advocate for Trafalgar, that's up to them, the commercial decisions they make. But I thought the offer of operating without subsidy, most other local authorities around the country would grab you by both hands to accept that offer, basically. So, again, I just go back to why is this happening? And you don't have to be... Former Councillor Emsley has said it, and others have as well. You don't have to be a conspiracy theorist to know what's going on here. This is a traditional pattern that's happened under this administration now. I think they are looking to sell this site, and often what will happen is they'll offer to put some housing on and you'll get the community asset of some sort, but the housing goes on and you never get the community asset. We were promised an arts centre on the Ballymore site, never got it. And it's time and time again. I have to say this as well, on behalf of my constituency, Hayes and Harlington, I'm fed up of assets being sold off here and invested in the north of the borough. So, the good thing about the Beck, though, to give them their due, they have become an asset for the whole of the borough. Danny Beals, the new MP in Hayes and Harlington, has written with me, Uxbridge, has written with me, thought there was a by-election for a minute then, has written with me to the council, and he's done that because actually he's arguing people in Uxbridge and the rest of the borough benefit from this community's resource as well. We asked David Simmons would he put his name to the letter. David said no, he'll make his own representations, which is fair enough, he'll do that, and I hope he will. But what we've said to them is, we're not advocates for Trafalgar or whoever, but we can't think of a better deal than the council is going to get. We can't think of the timescale involved that someone else can come in and manage this, without there being a huge break of operations and increased costs. And also we don't believe that, to be frank, Hillingdon Council has the competence or ability to manage the organisation itself. So we've written just to say to Hillingdon Council, get back round the table, start looking and negotiating again, and come back to the community with their proposals. Because the point that this gentleman made was absolutely fundamental. There's been no community consultation on this whatsoever. In fact, people have only got to knowledge of this thanks to the work that Jonathan has done in the campaign overall. Final point from me is I'll do everything I possibly can in making representation to Hillingdon, trying to get them back round the table, working with Trafalgar and others, and if we have to have a combined community and Trafalgar approach in the short term, looking at those proposals, trying to argue with the council to come forward. All we're asking them to do is come back to the table and start talking to us again so that we can find a solution to this. But I tell you, with Hillingdon Council, the only way we'll get them back around the table is by campaigning. That's why when Jonathan and the campaign team call for us to be at demonstrations, we need to be there. When they call for us to be writing in, we need to be there. And whatever action that we're advised to take by the campaign that's organised, we need to be alongside them. And I'll be raising this issue in Parliament as well, because I think they need calling out for what they're doing and establishing. Final point from me is we've been here before and we've won. Interesting if there's a teacher from Barnhill here. They closed Barnhill School, we occupied it, and we got a new school built. When they tried to close Barnhill, Barrow Hall down, a number of us turned up with sleeping bags. We saved it and it became a Sure Start Centre. I don't want to have to sleep in the Beck. But we need to say to the council, we're determined, absolutely determined, as a community, we're not going to lose this asset, and they need to know about that.
I committed to transparency today, and I'm absolutely committed to that. So I do want to share with you that the proposal that went back to LBH, where we reckoned we could accept zero subsidy, the realistic expectation was that this building, this business, was only ever going to break even under that proposal. And I want to call that out because, look, as it currently stands, I won't be an employee of Trafalgar in January. So I don't have any particular loyalty. I don't need to be kind about them anymore. But for a large commercial organisation to say, we want to protect this theatre, we don't have to make money off it, it's just got to wash its face, that's it. For them to say, we will provide resource and support and access to all of those centralised functions that a large operator has, and in return, we don't want anything. I think that's pretty extraordinary. And they also invested nearly £20,000 in creating a new business model where higher margin non-theatrical events could underpin the community work that we do here. And that, those costs were spent on licensing, on creation of new assets, and, it is completely new enterprise that was created in order that we could reach that break-even point, in order that we could go to the council and say, right, we're in, zero subsidy, that's fine, we need 3 years because we've got to try and get this off the ground, what do you say? And they said no.
Just on that point, I think it's important to note as well that the summer of 2024, so just a few months back, Trafalgar were ready to put in £175,000 into the fabric of this building. However, if you know that you're only going to have a short lease, your lease is coming to an end, why would you invest that sort of money? Trafalgar, I'm not affiliated to them in any way, but they have played an excellent, they've done the absolute best they can, and they've offered the council a phenomenal deal. However, if they don't offer a long-term lease, if they don't offer any more than a 3-year deal, Why would they put this sort of money in? And we've had a few comments made over the last week of certain audience members and people who have come through the doors of this venue to say, yeah, the seats are a little bit tired, or there are a few issues with the plumbing in the toilets. But let's be honest, and I've used this example over the course of the campaign. If you were in a rented house and your bathroom failed, or you had to redo the plumbing or redo the wallpaper, you wouldn't do that if you were going to be evicted in 4 weeks' time. And so Trafalgar have got a dedication to preserve this theatre for the next 20 years or more. And I've seen it happen with venues around the country where they've invested significant amount of money when they've been given a long-term lease and ability to actually grow it over the long term. But with 9 months, okay, 3 years, but that's a short amount of time. I will say as well that the council are responsible for the car park in this building. They've done nothing with the council. Trafalgar stumps up the money to redo the fountain, and they made the gardens nicer. They made this a nicer, welcoming place for the community. That was all Trafalgar money. That not a penny came from the council. So, to people who say that we agree with what the council are saying, that Trafalgar have been made out to be the bad guy, this is not the case, and we just need to make sure that that is addressed.
I think we can go to questions. We've got two hands over here, so we'll take either one of you and then we'll go behind afterwards.
Hi, Situl Punja. I speak as a resident and a mum, and also one of the online petitioners, which thanks to Peter Curling said that I could do as a fellow councillor as well. My daughter had her first ballet performance here at the age of 3. I want to say that, as John McDonnell has said, this is not a community a theatre just for Hayes. It has reached across the borough. I live in Ruislip. As mums groups, we come to the Beck. As children's groups, we come to the Beck. As performing arts groups in the north, they come to the Beck. This is an issue for our entire community, and it is incumbent upon our entire community to support the work that's happened here at the Beck. As a theatre goer and a passionate person of the arts, I see shows here, I come here, I don't know how many times a year, I buy family tickets here, I buy gifts for my friends and family here to come here, and we get shows that are going to cost. I mean, I'm going to see a show here in 2 weeks' time or 3 weeks' time that I can see that is playing for one night only at His Majesty's Theatre for £120 there, and I'm watching it here for £40. That's what the Beck have done in bringing those kind of shows to here. They have also done community shows here and taken them to the West End and given our community that opportunity to be able to be shown, professional, thought about, and realise that actually we are not just an amateur theatre company here, like the Winston Churchill Hall and the Compass, which if the council think they're going to run a theatre, how are they going to compete at that level? And the other thing that I would like to raise, as a fellow councillor, Councillor Abbey and I campaigned in Useley for saviour of Useley Recreation Ground, which was covenanted to the community in 1926. The council appropriated that community to build flats on it. And the swimming pool there, which was knocked down in 2012, they were promised a health centre. 2010, sorry. They were promised a health centre. They were promised a community centre. They were promised a new swimming pool. Instead, it is now going to become a block of flats with the library removed from the high street to that space. So I just want to remind people of what the council does to these buildings and how they do it, but also that this is a space, as a mum, as a resident, this is across the borough. This is not a space for just the community in its local surroundings. It is for all of us in this borough.
Just before we go, Jonathan just got a response to that.
Yeah, it's great that you brought up the Winston Churchill Hall. So we've seen with the council running Winston Churchill, that actually the local societies have been notified of a 30% increase in charges. So the costs amounting for a house of 150 at Compass or 350 at Winston. And quite how either of these theatres would cope with a professional touring company, I just can't imagine. I think it's prudent as well at this point to say that we're hearing from the council that they're potentially talking to other operators. Now, operators come in various different guises, and Trafalgar are probably the best ones to take this on. The only other one, probably bigger than them, is ATG, Ambassadors Theatre Group, who run a lot of the big #1 theatres like the Sunderland Empire and the Liverpool Empire. Probably too big for them. However, there are also a number of leisure operators that run gyms and swimming pools. Some of them have been known to sniff around venues like this. However, how are these operators going to be vetted? How can the council tell us how these how they're going to vet these operators? Because those who run gyms and swimming pools lack the experience of running a theatre. How would they give assurance that they could manage bookings and have access to promoters in order to gain these new shows? And also, on the subject of new promoters and new operators, can LBH confirm that they're being offered the 9-month contract that Trafalgar were as well? Because the goalposts seem to be shifting on a daily basis. Finally, in relation to this topic, we want to know who from Hillingdon Council has knowledge and experience on what is required to run a theatre, because it seems that none of them do. And we have the answers and they won't listen to us.
I just want to say thank you for turning up today and running such an eloquent campaign which has brought attention to something which is clearly very important to everybody here. Turning up within a week and finding out something like this has happened is a really big response. I think a slightly surprised at some of the rhetoric from the council in regards to demonising Trafalgar. I didn't realise the Conservatives were against private partnership. That aside, I'm a mother, I live in the council, I pay council tax. I have yet to be asked any questionnaires about how I want my council tax to be spent and whether it's appropriate to shut down the theatre. It's only 4 years ago that a significant event happened and our children were told to stay at home. And they were told to stop speaking to their friends, and some of those children were in primary school and they had no way of speaking to their friends and they had no way of contacting them, and the impact of that isolation will be with us for many, many years to come. And this place is a place where our children have started to get over that and to learn how to communicate with their peers in a way that they have no previous generations have had to deal with that. I think probably the last thing that children had that kind of impact was when the children were sent to the country during the war. We can't say in enough words that how big that impact has been on our children. And when we shut theatres like this, there is nowhere for our children to go where they can be safe and looked after and cared for. So I think you're doing a brilliant job. I would, if the council leader was here, and I won't give you this question, but if you have a chance to ask him, I would appreciate that, is why do you think that we shouldn't be spending money on our theatre? It's absurd. Of course we should be. This is what our community is, a place where a community can get together. That's what a theatre is. I'm not going to ask you that question. But if you get a chance to pass it on.
Do you know what? I think it's quite important. This is being recorded, and I do think that if you have a question, just because this chap isn't here, I do think it's really important to voice it. I think there are a lot of people here that perhaps could take that question on your behalf and perhaps pop that into a room.
Sorry, I think the response will be just like the invisible man. Silence. Speechless.
Yeah. But I don't feel that you can't voice it because it is recorded, isn't it? So I would say that's really important. And also there are other people here like the Back the Beck campaign as well. Can I get the microphone? I'm going to come down here to this chap and then I'm going to swing round I pointed at you two people. What I would say... Okay, I'm so sorry, I don't know the difference between... Yeah. Yeah. My intention is to go round the room. What I would say, absolutely, I will try. What I will say though is that we can't be here all evening, not least because I have a 7-year-old daughter. So what I would say is, whilst it's really impassioned what you guys are saying, I would say if we could try and keep it a little bit more concise, then we would be able to hear a few more voices left. So we're now sort of sitting at 5:35. And I would like to be looking at about 6 o'clock. Probably could go on a little bit longer, but I would love to get as many comments as possible. Steve, did you say you wanted to say it, and then we'll bring this
just
around?
The
lady that mentioned it, I will come to you.
Just a very, very quick point. One of the reasons that this theatre has historically received a subsidy is because a private operator can deliver a service that is much cheaper than the council doing it themselves. So that subsidy is actually represents a saving rather than it just throwing money at something. It's it's a saving because a private company can deliver an arts and culture offer cheaper than the council could itself in this building.
Thank you. And my intention is to be brief because I do think we need to hear from the public. So my name is Councillor Stuart Mathers. I'm one of the ward councillors for where the Beck sits. And I just wanted to make really clear how it would be best to communicate some of the questions in a kind of dual-prong approach. I can go on about the impact the Beck has had on myself, but I've shared it with people. And any emails that we receive, we are working through to get back to people. But every single councillor has access to the ability to ask a question as a member of the council. They have the ability to get an answer. Now, whether it's a clear answer, it has to be truthful, but whether it's the whole truth. But what I would continue urging people to do, and I've said this on the WhatsApp group, is to contact your ward councillor first. Please, by all means, include Councillor Lavery, who's the Cabinet member, the leader of the council, and ask them the specific questions they'd like answers to. You are also very welcome to include myself, Stuart Mathers, Camel Creek Court, and Ella Gerlich as the ward councillors of here, because that's where it sits. But we should be getting answers to these questions, and the members' inquiry system that councillors can use is a clear way of doing that. It takes about 2 weeks to get an answer, as a minimum, I would say. Colleagues of mine sitting here will know some take months. But do ask your ward councillors the questions that you need to be answered, even if everybody asks the same question across all of the councillors in the borough, and those answers, ask for them to come back to you. So we can just keep pushing the council through that mechanism for information. I hope that's helpful.
Yes, that's it. Yeah. And then if you could pass it on to this gentleman here, and then I'm going to come back to this lady. I promise I'm going to come over there. There's lots of hands. Bear with me, okay?
My name is Camel Creek Court. I'm one of the local ward councillors. Just to let the members of the public know that as soon as it became public, we raised a members' inquiry to know exactly what is planned for the Beck so that we could respond to the public. So if we had the answers, instead of people saying things which they could think as conspiracy theories, we could give the fact to the members of the public. They haven't come back to me. One of the residents who wanted me to ask if Councillor Lavery or anyone you have been in touch to would respond to this. He says, my son worked at the Beck as part of the technician team. He is autistic and really struggled to find work. The Beck gave him a chance and opened a huge door for him. He used to be on ESA support group. Thanks to the Beck, he is now better able to work and no longer on ESA or equivalent type of universal credit. The Beck has been a great opportunity for people with difficulties and other challenges. What is the council thinking about it? If you hear, please let him know. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Steve Gowlick. Multiple things have been going through my mind, especially as we've been hearing people's commentary today. John made a well-found comment in relation to the fact that there were 2 theatres in the north of the borough that remain dark most of the year. And the reality is, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to realise that the productions that take place in those theatres could easily be moved to here, potentially in the intervening period, along with perhaps some other work along that line. But the reality is, I work for a trade union and I deal with major corporations quite frequently. When a company wants to avoid you, they will do all they can to go silent. They will pull every stunt and every trick in the book. And the playbook that the Conservative Council have been playing here is quite deliberate. We've seen it mentioned quite clearly that various venues, businesses and facilities within the council area have been closed down over a period of time on the same basis that we're seeing the gameplay through here. And we cannot allow it to happen, of course. It's not just about the demonstration, it's also about the work, the lives and the individuals who are affected by this. And that needs to be humanised in the message that goes out. You need to be able to tell the story of the individuals who are working here and what the effect is on them and the community. Because the reality is, people understand what happens when something happens to somebody else. They do not understand what happens when something happens with a building. And there is a second problem, because I've seen it on the social media. There are certain apologists who are putting out false narratives that need to be challenged. Because the reality is, the Conservatives are just as good as spinning a yarn. And that cannot be allowed to happen. I am deeply concerned about what's going to happen with staffing here, and I would like to know where Trafalgar stand on that, and also what assistance is coming from the various trade unions. But I can assure you that everyone here is obviously very clearly in favour of making sure this is the primary theatre in the borough and the other theatres go dark and the work comes here. Let them build in the north, not in the south.
Just going to say one thing. So we've been overwhelmed by the support from a number of councillors on the council. I think we're just going to focus on now residents and people connected with the theatre. But thank you very much for your words. We go for that later.
Just before we move on to the next question, I will just answer Steve's question about staffing. At the moment, we can't do anything because we don't know what the future is. If a new operator is found, if the building stays open, our staff are protected under Transfer of Undertakings Protection of Employment legislation, which basically means that our staff will move across to a new operator. We are all employed here by this building. We are not employed by Trafalgar Entertainment, which means that, you know, there is some protection if a new operator is found. The council hasn't yet provided us with any clarity, which means we haven't been able to provide any clarity to our staff, which is causing an enormous amount of concern, stress, anguish and anxiety, as I'm sure you can imagine. Trafalgar has committed to doing everything that they can to protect their employees if the building is to close, and that includes redeployment, it will include finding alternative roles across the Trafalgar group where it can. You know, it's a people-first organisation. If the venue is to close, there will be lost jobs. People will be made redundant. And we have to start those consultations reasonably soon in order to be fair to the staff that work here. We're not in a position to do that yet because Hillingdon haven't provided us with any clarity.
Well, then there is something that actually hasn't been mentioned in here, and I know I've got the backing of John MacDonald on that. There is one asset that nobody's spoken about, and I wonder how many people are aware of it. On the 8th of July, and you know, I mean, I'm here because I support what you do, and I've been a campaigner for 30 years, so I absolutely agree with what's happening. But there is one asset that nobody's talking about, and it's Harlington Hospice. Did you know that Harlington Hospice has been put up for sale? Yes. Right, well, I'm just inviting you, I'm not going to be very long, I'm just inviting you, I'm calling another public meeting. I've called one already with John MacDonald. John very kindly was on Zoom during his holidays to actually attend. I ask every single one of you to actually attend the next meeting with John at the, well, I'm sorry, it is about community asset, and Harlington Hospice is a community asset, and people are going to die, and they've got no services at all, and the money will go in the north of the borough, it will go to Michael Sobel. So I'm just asking everybody here to actually follow me and follow John and actually go to Harlington Hospice when we call the meeting and make the same noise, because apparently the same council refused planning permission. So the council is also involved. So that is, you know, people are dying, and I'm one of them. And I would like to know that I've got a service when I'm dying. Thank you.
I'm going to do a reset here. Okay, I think we're all getting quite impassioned. We're going to get the microphone over to these. Like, I'm going to have. You're going to have to self-manage it. We're going to take it over here, and you're going to have to self-manage it. Okay.
I wanted to ask a question. I can't do that.
We're all getting very colourful. Can I remind you about the kindness aspect? You are all here for a united goal. Okay. I just want to remind you of that. So I'm just going to pop the microphone.
Chairman, who, please?
I just... Let's be kind to the person with the microphone, okay? Because this person is doing a diligent job here. Well done. Thank you so much. Okay? I just want to remind you again, you are all here for a united goal, okay? And I appreciate that everybody has got something to say, and we will get to as many people as we can get to, okay? The shorter you are, the more concise you are, the more people will be able to speak.
Thank you. My name's Damien Sands. I first came to this building over 30 years ago, and it changed my life. As a teenager, I spent so much time here learning through the youth theatre, through summer project, through pantomime, through work experience. And I've gone on to become a theatre director. I have worked regionally in the West End, on Broadway, and all around the world. And every day I get to put into practice the skills I was lucky enough to learn in this building. On top of that, for the last 15 years, I've been chairman of the Beck Youth Theatre, and I have seen thousands and thousands of young people move through these doors and go from shy, inexperienced people who find it very difficult to talk out loud, leaving at the age of 19 as well-rounded, decent human beings with so much confidence that working in the arts has given them. Some of those people go on to have careers in the arts, whether that's on stage, backstage, theatre management, casting directors, technicians, wardrobe, the list is endless. A lot of other people go on to have successful careers in law, medicine, education. What unites all of them are the amazing life skills they have learned through this building, the importance of communication, teamwork, the ability to look for solutions to problems, to have a sense of self-worth and confidence that otherwise they didn't have. If I look at our current members, this is a set of age group that has had a very turbulent time through the last few years. And what has amazed me is that coming back from the pandemic, our membership shot through the roof. For the last 3 years, we've had over 100 members. That's 100 members between 8 and 19 who are all really eager to participate and learn in the arts. And my worry is for their future with this in the borough, because without this building, there is actually no other space that can house a group such as us, either on stage or backstage. None of the other theatres, none of the other spaces can do it. And that's also true of numerous dance schools through the area. So what I really want to know from the council is, should there be any threat to this building, what are their plans to make sure that the provision for young people and arts education, and how are they going to sustain that?
Hello, my name is Joe Pollard. I've been
I've been the comedian in the pantomime here, and I'll be returning. It'll be my 3rd year back here, so I'd like you all to come and watch that to help continue to keep this theatre going. Yeah, I know you won't. But what I will start out by saying is we would like answers from the council, because they made a statement that there was a possibility of building a new theatre. That was a lie. Okay? We would also like an answer as to why, when they were asked to come here and face the music, they had a space, a nice comfy chair out there waiting for them. Why did they not turn up to face the music? Okay, so I will call LBH what they are: demonstrably liars and cowards. To have a group of people here that want a message to be given to you and to turn that down, that is despicable in my opinion, okay? Now, what I would like to do, I'm not going to bore you with the history of the theatre. People like Rowan Atkinson, people like John Pertwee, who got their start in places like this, okay? There's not very many places like this that exist now in the country. This is one that is still going, okay? I'm not going to bore you with that. What I will do is tell you a little bit of a story. Now, I grew up in Plymouth. There's a theatre in Plymouth called the Athenaeum, very, very similar to this one. And it's a case of history repeating itself, okay? Because the Athenaeum down in Plymouth was sold to the council. The council took it back. What did they do with it? They used it as council offices for years and years and years. And then what happened was the council, they didn't have any more use for the building. What happened to it? It got turned back into a theatre. So all of that time, when they could have been productions going on there, the council were using it as office buildings. You've got computers in your houses at home. Do it at home. You don't need our spaces to do that. These are our spaces. Now, I like to be a solutions person, okay? I don't like problems, I like solutions. And if there was, we've got the Beck Community Choir sat here, okay? And if the only option for those 3 months until they find a new backer to come in is to put a show on each week, perhaps on a Friday, perhaps on a Saturday, it could be live at the Beck. Right? It could be live at the Beck. We don't need live at the Apollo. How about live at the Beck? Because you'd all be here, wouldn't you? Yeah. Even if we had all of you people, right? Even if we had all of you people, you know, charge whatever it is for a ticket to keep it plodding along, okay? Even if it was an hour each week on a Friday, we'd all be here, right? But I guarantee you wouldn't be here. The councillors who are making the decisions on this theatre, they won't be here, would they? Now I'm gonna say one more thing before we all sort of go home. I'd like to just raise the point that we've heard from many councillors here. Right, we've heard from about 6 or 7 councillors. All of them said, "Oh, well, I can't do anything." What are you for then? Hey, if you can't pose the questions and get answers, how are we going to do it? If you can't do it, what are we supposed to do? So we need you guys as well. Thank you. And that'll be my lot. Thank you.
I just want to come back on that. Actually, the councillors that have stepped forward have been phenomenal in this campaign. We've had a number of really positive engagements with members of the council that are on our side, and I personally can't thank them enough. We have been apolitical in this campaign, but obviously politics comes into it. We have had people working behind the scenes in this council that are working damn hard for us. We need to give them the full respect they deserve, and we thank them.
Hello there, my name is Fred. I'm very proud to say, part of the community choir here. This is our home. This is what they're proposing to do away with. And I'll give you a history lesson here. My friend, the councillor down there, and I remember the Hillingdon music service. They wanted to do that. What did we do? All those young people, we went outside the council offices, and they played their instruments and they sang and they made a protest. And that's the only thing that any council is frightened of. It's us, because we vote for them. So if you want to save this place, as we did with the music services, is to get out there and protest. And I do believe the guys are getting together tomorrow at Uxbridge Station. And if you want to save this place, because they won't listen, they'll do what they want until we stop them. I'm not saying throw yourself under the next 427 that comes up the road, but it's the voice of the people. And I know that it will, and I'm sure my councillor friend down there knows, because we had many conversations about this. So that's the way. You want to save this place, you've got to back you guys verbally. Not violently, but verbally.
I'm mindful that this side, I've not heard from this. Is there anyone in this section over here? Could we get the microphone over into that section? I'm just impartial person here, trying to make sure that. And yeah, we've not heard from this section. We can come over there.
I will be around after this meeting for as long as is necessary to talk to anybody who has any individual questions, queries or concerns that I can help you with.
Say that we all know we want to try and save the Beck. We're all finding out lots of information about the Beck and how they think it's great, which it is great, but we need to know, where are we going from here? Because I know everyone wants to talk, but we're not getting anywhere to go. Apart from the demonstration tomorrow, what should we be doing? Because we've only got 4 minutes left. We don't need to hear that everyone wants to save it anymore.
We actually started about 10 or 15 minutes late, so I'm very happy to take it to the full 2 hours. I don't like to be.
Is that something you can
That's not a problem. I'm happy. I've been tasked with the summary. I'm very impartial. I don't live in this borough. It's been very, I'm hopeful at your passion. So yeah.
I just want to say on that comment, there is a limit to what we can actually do. The reason for bringing you guys here today is to express our concerns to the council. We've raised a number of questions that we haven't had any answers to at all. And your comments and your experiences are really powerful because they drive that message to the council. We need to make sure that everything that we've said today, whether it be the concerns regarding new operators, whether it be the concerns regarding the council backing or supporting this venue, or whether it's concerns about this venue being demolished, we need to get those shouted, we need to get that message loud and clear. So in terms of the campaign and where we go forward, sure, we've got a demonstration tomorrow. Is that going to solve it overnight? No, it won't. But as we persist, as we go on and on throughout this campaign, the message is getting stronger and the support is getting bigger, and we've just got to do all of it.
I'm Helen Williams. I have a similar question actually. I'm a doctoral researcher at Brunel University, and I know Brunel supports this campaign. I'm also a mum of 3 children who all owe their careers to the Beck Theatre. They're West End performers and technicians now. But my question is, what would you say are the main hurdles for us now to get over in order to get this campaign to be successful?
So from my point of view, I think something that we really need to try and achieve is national coverage. This is not just an issue that's local to Hayes. It is an issue that is being faced by venues up and down the country. It's got a lot harder to run theatres, and they are often the first things that are cut. So I think we need national coverage. I think for this particular venue, we need to keep growing. We need to try and force Hillingdon Council back into dialogue with us. As I've said before, we're getting nothing back from them. They haven't provided any clarity, they haven't responded to questions, so we need to find a way to force that.
Yeah, and just to echo that, as I say, we've got a number of questions that we need to address. The issue that we've got is that we have a building here and we don't know this. We don't know what's going to happen post. Every day that goes on is a day that there are no shows being programmed, and it's giving the council the justification to close this building. But until they actually go and come to us and speak to us and re-engage with people like Steve, re-engage with Trafalgar, they're just winding the clock down. So this is why this is so important. This is why we need to get the message out there, like Steve says, we need to get it going national. to keep this venue going. And it's not just about the Beck, this is about a systemic issue across the UK where councils are asset stripping venues and they're putting the money into new development, and we can't let it carry on.
There's one other point that I think it's worth making, and that is the people who know how to run this organisation all work in this organisation. 8 days ago, I wrote to senior officers at Hillingdon Council to say, even if you will no longer talk to Trafalgar, come and talk to me, because I know how this place works. I've been doing it for a little while, and we've got pretty good at it. I received nothing back.
My name's John Rout. I'm a resident in the Uxbridge constituency, so I hope Ian Elders is listening to this. One thing, well done to everybody who's spoken. I haven't disagreed with anything I've heard. Fantastic, Jonathan and your team, what you're doing. I want to pay tribute to Barbara Fisher for putting the article in the Gazette. I only found out about this meeting because of her. What would be really useful for people who've got not much time, Jonathan, is if on the... I haven't looked at the website yet, it may well be on there, if there's some actions for us to take to do. One thing we need to do is we need a concise, simple message that we can all of us, put out on social media. I will be telling all my neighbours in Colham and Cowley Ward, which is blue, Mr. Edwards, at the moment, and you used to be my councillor before you moved to more comfortable pastures. We will be telling our neighbours, and when the election comes in 2 years, and I'm not a supporter of the opposition are going to win, because your blue voters are going to sit on their hands and not vote for you again. And that's the only power we have. I'm being brief, but well done to everybody.
Hello. Just to come back on that, in terms of things that you can do, you can go to the website backthebeck.org. There is a page where there is a how you can help. We urge you to continue signing the petition if you've not done it already. There is also a letter that you can customise that you can send to all your councillors and MPs. After today, we're going to take the salient points of this meeting and all the questions that we want to address and that have come out of today's meeting, and we will be publicising those, and we'll be writing to the councillors to demand answers to those questions. We'll also have a letter that you can write to all of your councillors as well and ask them the same thing.
Yeah, I'm David Bruff. I'm the chair of the Hayes Town Partnership. Like John McDonnell, I was here when this place was built. I used to work for Hillingdon Council. I actually wrote the minutes approving the building of this place 47 years ago. So I've got a long connection with the place, and my heart is in here. My contribution this evening is to pick up what somebody said earlier about they only found out about it at the last minute. That is a major problem. We've got the campaign that you've got your website. Barbara's doing a good job in the local Gazette. But for anybody who lives in Hayes, I produce a weekly email news bulletin called Hayes Town News. A number of my readers are here because they read about it in Hayes Town News. Anybody who lives in Hayes who wants to sign up for it, I'll keep reporting the campaign week by week, so you'll know what's going on. And if you'd like to sign up, please talk to me at the end. Thank you.
Nigel, we're going to come into the middle now.
Sorry, Chair, I'd just like this lady here would like to say something.
Okay, cool. And then we're going to come back into the middle, and we are coming to a close now.
Hi. I know a lot of us have been talking about the youth and the diversity that the Beck has brought, and I am one of those youth that, not only in the Beck Youth Theatre but also in SYP. I was in Legally Blonde this year, so I recognise a lot of faces. Thank you. I know as an aspiring actress, it's very hard for places people that aren't as fortunate that live in central London to have theatres like the Beck for us to learn not only on stage but backstage. And the Beck, though I don't even live here, I live in Harrow, it's home for me, and I know for so many young adults like myself it's been a home for them as they've grown. And my question is, in an ideal world that we could have, you can keep the Beck as it is already, what are the plans in place to keep it a safe space and an open space for people like myself to learn throughout the generations? Because the Beck obviously is amazing as it is, it's old and it needs work to be done from a technical standpoint, and so even if it were kept open, I'd want to know how it would be, like things like the dressing rooms and the plumbings worked on while still keeping it a space for us to work in. Thank you.
Thank you, that's a really good question. So I think there are a couple of things to say in response to that. We and through Trafalgar have been poised to invest in this building for a number of years. Unfortunately, the short lengths of time that we've been given by way of lease extensions have prohibited us from spending on the building because we simply don't have the time to depreciate off that investment. With a long-term lease extension, we can do that. We absolutely can do that. And in terms of keeping this a safe space, look, the work that we do with our communities and with our young people, the enrichment that we provide, is core to our purpose. If this building stays open, it stays open doing what it does best, and that is providing arts and culture for the communities that we serve. And it is providing access to the transformational power of arts and culture to everybody. That's a commitment. That is the core of what we do here, and that will never change. We, in recent years, have invested more and more and more and more on that side of this organisation, what we term creative learning. We created a new post for a creative learning manager when we came back from COVID, because we recognised that we needed to work harder to prevent that social isolation that we all experienced during lockdowns. So we invested in that role. We amplified our creative learning work. We introduced more and more different types of opportunity for people to engage with this building, whether it, through community choir or our International Women's Days or workshops, and we take work out into schools as well. That's become an absolutely critical function of this building and something that will never change under our management. This building exists in an area of acute deprivation. It exists in an area that is not surrounded by well-heeled traditional theatre goers. And it is surrounded by communities where the habit of popping along to the theatre 2 or 3 times a year just isn't there. So we've made a focus over the last few years to build those bridges, to welcome everybody through our doors, even if it's for the first time. People leave here knowing that this building is for them and that they belong here. That has seen us become the most diverse commercial theatre in the UK, something that we're incredibly proud of. So, to answer your question, if we are able to stay here, we will do more. It is that simple.
Yeah, so this isn't a question, it's more an offer of support. Excuse me. So I'm a resident originally of Hayes, now in Uxbridge, but I've been coming here since I was about 8, City Show back in the day. I've seen many bands, films, comedians, plays here. And 20 years ago, John McDonnell there started the Hayes FM. I got a volunteer role on Hayes FM. I'm digressing, but there's a point why this is of assistance. So I was on Hayes FM for a few years, went to do some work at the BBC, then started a record label, then did a load of promotions in London, made a lot of friends with bands. So basically, my offer is it 600 capacity? Yeah, so basically, I did some maths earlier. 600 capacity, £35 ticket, 21 grand. So a local band called the Ruts, punk band, I spoke to them, they're up for playing. And also, if you want national coverage of this, I put on a show by Sleaford Mods 10 years ago. They're pretty big now. And I'm sure if I asked them, he would be ranting on your case, or for your case. And basically, I've asked the Ruts, would they want to do maybe a collaboration with them live here? They said they'd love to. So, you know, if you want to get some money raised and some publicity, I would love to help out. My name's Darren Booker, local resident.
Let's get the microphone through to the front, and then we'll go to this lady, and then... Yeah. And thank you, that sounds amazing, I might come.
Good evening, my name is Martin, and I've been coming to here for some time, but I feel very, very strongly that this Beck Theatre, this lovely, and I mean lovely theatre, should remain open. For the simple reason, I wrote a few notes, I'm going to be brief. I feel that about 2.5 years ago, when this theatre was closed because of the COVID pandemic, and I have the pleasure to say this, that I have recently joined the Beck Community Choir. I personally would like this theatre to stay open, and I would like to say how grateful I am to all the staff at this lovely theatre.
Whatever the outcome of this is, I would personally like to thank you for the staff and everybody else who's supported me with my husband who's got dementia. I've got over 70 venues from January, and I still have another 30 to go. Thank you so much, and I hope that you win the day.
Yeah, we'll do one more. Okay.
Hello there, my name's Samantha Dreelan. I don't live in Hayes anymore, but I did grow up in Hayes, and I actually went to the original Barnhill School, so I do remember that, and the gentleman mentioned Barnhill School earlier. I live in Harefield now, but I am an avid member of the Beck Theatre. I just love theatre as a whole. I don't think there's nothing more than musical theatre that gives you a buzz. It's something people don't understand with these days of society, of modern technology, especially for children. Children have forgot what it's like. Children don't use their imagination anymore. Children are too busy with modern technology. They have lost that. And that is something we is very passionate about keeping, so children understand being able to express themselves, use their imagination, and as I said, that is only something you can get from live theatre. I used to be a regular member of the Beck Theatre, but obviously in these hard times, financial situations have affected everybody very hard, and your money is going into paying your bills and just to surviving. But I am a big theatre fan, and I've already looked at 2 shows already today here to book. I'll bring my husband to see Rich Hall on Friday, and I'm also head of wellbeing at a care home in Harefield, and I do bring my residents here for the Neil Sands Christmas show. I'm a brownie leader, I'm a rainbow leader, I bring them to the pantomime. Just want to say to that lovely gentleman over there, my brownies absolutely love your pantomime and they think you are amazing. So, a lot of pleasure is brought. We need to keep this theatre going. There's not much around here. It is very, very important. But you're saying about fundraising. Can I just ask how much it is to keep this theatre going? What is the actual outgoing? What are we looking at?
It's a really good question. So, realistically, look, we benefit currently from having centralised support that comes at no cost to us. So Trafalgar has a kind of, for instance, marketing teams and ticketing teams that aren't based in this building and that are paid for from other businesses. So we benefit from that model without incurring cost. There is a model whereby we can run as a standalone, but it would require significant investment to start with. We're talking hundreds of thousands of pounds in order to deliver a model that is sustainable. I think there is one, and if anybody wants to talk more about, or in more detail, about what a standalone financial operation would look like, I'm very, very happy to have that conversation. I do think it is possible, and I think there is, a potential future without a large-scale operator, but it would require significant fundraising.
Well, as you're saying, if this, as I said, the gentleman that does the pantomimes up, they said, if people did a show every week, let's approach people, let's approach celebrities of Peer-to. Would they donate their services for some fundraising evenings? We do a lot of stand-up here. My husband's come to see a lot of stand-up here. Let's have a stand-up even, get Rich Hall in, Lee Mack in. Let's get them people in that have appeared here, see if they can donate them services for free. And if you get them figureheads behind, you'll get more of a campaign. If people, celebrities people know, get behind these campaigns, you will get the public you need. People take note of people that are famous. Ant and Beck get on that stage, I can guarantee you would get the support you need. You need to get the celebrities involved, then you will get the support you need. You will get the publicity you need.
Yeah, we would also need Hillingdon to come back to the table.
We're going to, thank you very much. We're not going to take any more questions. I feel like I would like to just give a little bit of space to Peter and say thank you very much for filling the space, of which there is a distinct lack of a certain person that should be here. So do you have anything that you'd like to finish up with?
Yes, thanks. I mean, first of all, thank you for sort of indulging me on the stage. It's totally by surprise. I aim to be in the audience listening to everybody else. I'd like to say it's a huge shame that there is nobody here from the Council's administration, not only to answer the questions, but also to listen to the people that matter, and that's you guys. I would like to pick up on just a couple of things. The comments about the councillors here, what are we doing? What's our purpose? Being in opposition is awful. Being in opposition, you are treated, as the saying goes, like mushrooms. Not only are you sort of kept in the dark, something else happens to you as well, which is quite nasty. So for us to get information is incredibly difficult, and that is why it is really, really important for the campaign to remain in the heart of the community. This is a community campaign to save this community facility. As local politicians, we will help that. We will do what we can at the Civic Centre to help, but it's got to be the community that fights, because as the gentleman said over there, these are voters, and that's what the politicians will look at. They will look at their voters. If they've got a petition with more signatures than the number of people that voted for them, that focuses their mind. So yeah, we are here to help, but we can't achieve things politically on our own. It needs to be the community fighting with us supporting you as a community. So that's just what I say. You can put in freedom of information requests as members of the public, which would be a good way to get to the decision makers. But the council is run by 7 people in the cabinet. They are the decision makers. Every other councillor is a scrutineer. And when you're in opposition, the chance to scrutinise what happens in that core of 7 cabinet members is virtually non-existent. As I say, I learnt about this through a friend who heard a rumour about the Beck closing. I had no idea until I had that. And as I say, we will do everything we can to support the campaign, but it must be a community campaign, because the administration will listen to the community. They won't listen to another set of politicians that are on the opposition. That's just the way politics works, I'm afraid.
Thank you very much for that. We've got on the website, again, I've mentioned it before, on how you can help, there are links to the Freedom of Information request that we would like you, if possible, to be able to share in emails to the councillors, and we will update them over the course of the weekend. I just want to say, in the interest of GDPR, we cannot actually share our petition to our councillors. However, I've got it here, so if any of them do want to have a look at it, I can't let you take it away, but we've got 5,500 names in here. So I implore them to come and take a look.
So just please have a paper version as well for those who are wonderful online.
Come and see us at the end. We'll take your details.
So it's my job to conclude today. As I said to you before, I live in Hampton Court. It was a shortish, with the traffic lights, car journey to come over to your borough and support you today. I am an impartial person. I came here today just to chair your activities. I know that we're here today under sad circumstances, uncertain of a future of this particular venue. But I'm full of hope, actually, for you, because there are so many impassioned people that we heard from today. There was a few things that I wanted to highlight. Steve mentioned of some protections on this site that would make it terribly awkward for anybody to start doing anything. So please be more confident at the fact that you do have time. But what I have overwhelmingly heard today is that these campaigns and these 7 humans that apparently hold all of the decisions certainly need to be asked questions. I think that writing letters is a really good way of doing it. People can't ignore it. Or emails, you can do it in the old-fashioned way if you want to. I think that what Jonathan is doing with your Back the Beck campaign, and I know that it's more than just Jonathan. Jonathan is the face of a huge campaign. If you have capacity, join them, and I think that you can do amazing things with that. I'm really in awe. It's been my pleasure to be here to listen to you, and you are all so impassioned. My heart and my spirit is with you. You've got an MP that has basically just said he's going to sleep here, if that, I'm so overwhelmed. I'm considering moving. Do you see what I mean? So that's what it is. What I will end with, because I'm here as the co-chair of the Association of British Theatre Technicians. It's been my honour to be here to chair this for you impartially. But what I will say, as the Association of British Theatre Technicians, all of my technician friends across the country, our venues closed for a long time, and lots of people have talked about that. Now, we had to close for safety reasons, and that was absolutely fine. We went through a torrid time. But what we don't want to do is to see a venue close for no reason at all. So I send you all my love and luck with this process. Luck is not enough, you need to participate. Steve has very kindly said that the building can stay open, the conversations are here. I have to leave with my 7-year-old, but what I would suggest is you've got really exciting things happening in this room, not least with that beautiful performance that potentially is going to happen for some fundraising. So I wish you all good luck. Thank you so much. Thank you all for being kind. I know it got impassioned, but thank you very much. And I wish you all the best with this campaign.
I'd just like to say thank you to Mig as well, who's been fantastic. We actually asked Mig about 2 days ago. This campaign has gone mad in the last week, and we had very little notice to give her, but bless her, she's come here and she's been fantastic, so thank you again.